So who will read today?
I can read, Rangadan.
Okay, Tarika. Okay, agreed. So we start reading. Everybody has got the text? Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes.
But the hold of this ego consciousness.
But the hold of this ego consciousness upon our whole habit of existence is difficult to shake off when we have no longer need of the separative, the individualistic, and aggressive stage of development. When we would proceed forward from this necessity of littleness in the child soul to unity and universality, to the cosmic consciousness and beyond, to our transcendent spirit stature. It is indispensable to recognize clearly, not only in our mode of thought, but in our way of feeling, sensing, doing, that this movement, this universal action, is not a helpless, impersonal wave of being which lends itself to the will of any ego according to that ego's strength and insistence. It is the movement of a cosmic being who is the knower of his field, the steps of a divinity who is the master of his own progressive force of action. As the movement is one and indivisible, so he who is present in the movement is one, sole and indivisible. Not only all result is determined by him, but all initiation, action, and process are dependent on the motion of his cosmic force and only belong secondarily and in their form to the creature.
Okay, so to understand this para, we go back to our famous example of the sea and the wave. Okay, that will make it very clear. So what he's saying is, we'll read the thing and then I'll go on referring to the image. Then we'll become very clear. It will become clear what he's saying. So the problem is the ego. Okay, the main feature of ignorance in the level 1, the main feature is ego. And what is ego? Don't constantly the mind goes back to the idea of ego is sense of superiority, insistence on one's own ideas and one's own desires. That is not that's a result of the ego. The ego is the sense of separateness from everybody else. You feel yourself to be quite separate from the world, which is not a fact at all. Okay, you are actually one, and you are just one wave in the sea. And the wave is thinking that the sea is there for its own benefit. Okay, it's not like that. It's the sea that is actually making the wave. So the wave does not understand that. The wave is you, me, everybody else. And we feel that the world is there for my exploitation. It is there, I can derive whatever I want, I can do in the world. This is what he's saying. So when you have outgrown the need of the ego and your consciousness has gone sufficiently high and you go even to the cosmic consciousness, when you feel yourself to be one with everybody, the ego is not easy to get rid of. Okay? And that is the reason why, where is the ego then? It's there in the mind, life, and body at level 1. Your consciousness is at level 2 in the spiritual planes of consciousness. When you have got rid of the identification with body, mind, life. That's what Sri is saying. Now he is explaining this position, the relation between the sea and the wave. Okay. So, but the hold of this ego consciousness upon our whole habit of existence is difficult to shake off when we have no longer need of the separative, the individualistic, and aggressive stage of development. Okay? In the beginning, you remember, he's saying that the ego is very, very useful because aggressively you have to insist on your own individuality and you have to develop yourself. If you don't develop yourself, you will not be able to do anything afterwards later on. So you have to develop your capacities, your mind, your vital, your emotional being, and even your body development. All this should be there. And naturally then you have to concentrate entirely on yourself. So aggressive stage of development. And note the the phrase is separating. You are quite separate from everybody else and the world. The world is outside you and you have nothing to do with the world except that you are using the world for your own development. Individualistic, limited only to the individual you. Okay? And it's very difficult to get rid of the ego. Your consciousness has got rid of the ego. You are in the level 2. But the consciousness, the ego in the body-mind life continues to exist. That's what Srila is saying. Why is Srila insisting on this? Because the ascetic and the Mayavadin and the Jnanavadins, all these people, they are not interested in the body-mind life. They say, what does it matter to me if the ego is still there? I am rejecting it in any case. But Sri Aurobindo can't do that. Why? Because his body-mind life also has to be perfected. He doesn't want to reject the world, and not rejecting the world means not rejecting body-mind life. And there the ego is there. So in the integral yoga, the problem of the ego is very much there, even at the body-mind life level. Okay? So this is what he said. Yeah, tell me.
Rangana, one question. Like
Yeah.
when you said your consciousness is in the second stage, but your mind, but our consciousness is related to the mind, right? Means we
No.
are conscious, it's mentally we are conscious.
No. You must make it very, very clear.
So how do I differentiate the consciousness and the mind?
You will differentiate at that time. Just as you can think that your body is separate from you yourself. Okay? At that time you will find that the mind is going on its own like a machine. That time you will realize. Now it is very difficult to realize because we are identified with our mind, our vital, and our body. We feel that this is me. Okay? The emotions are mine. The thoughts are mine. But when your consciousness goes out, the soul and the consciousness, then you realize that all the time I was thinking that mind is my consciousness is in the mind. But now I see that my consciousness is outside and the mind is still going on like a machine, having thoughts. That you realize. Now we don't realize that. That is what is meant by identification with the mind, life, body. The sense of being separate from the mind comes by watching your thoughts. That's not very easy, but if you go on watching your thoughts while they are occurring, there will be a distance between the thinker and the thought. And slowly, the thinker will, the one who is thinking, will separate himself and see that he is actually not thinking. The thoughts are going on mechanically in the mind. I am outside. I am just watching my thoughts. I am just watching my emotions. That is what is meant by the liberation. Liberation means you are not identified anymore with your mind, your vital, and your body. That's what is meant. Okay.
So
that
when I'm watching my thoughts, it is not the mind which is watching. I mean, a separative mind which is watching, or it is something else.
it is the mental Purusha, but you are thinking that it is my thoughts. Do you feel that it is somebody else's thoughts? No.
No.
But, so when your consciousness separates itself, then you will see that the consciousness is separate from the mental consciousness. Look, one thing you must understand. Consciousness is something fundamental. Okay, it is there at all the levels. It is there, consciousness is there at the highest in the form of chit. Then when it comes down, it goes on taking it's like coming down in the staircase. Okay? When you are at the top of the stairs, you are identified with that top. When you are down in the middle, you are identified with the middle. And when you are down in at the foot of you are identified with that. So the consciousness goes on identifying itself with whichever level it is in. So when you are at the highest level, your consciousness is that of the divine. When you are in the spiritual planes of consciousness, your consciousness is spiritual, separate from body, mind, life. When it descends even into the lowest level of level 1, then your consciousness has become mental consciousness, vital consciousness, and physical consciousness. The consciousness is something different from all these. The consciousness is something fundamental, but it goes on taking the stance of wherever it is. So it has taken the stance of the mental consciousness, and you think that you are the mind and your thoughts are your own. They are not. Okay. Again, we go back to the wave and the sea. The sea is sending and creating the wave. But the wave is going on insisting that I am the independent of the sea. Okay? The sea is there for my exploitation. But when the wave disappears and becomes the sea itself, then you realize that the the wave is dependent on the sea. Okay. In other words, your consciousness is depending on the entire universe. Now, the body mind life depends on that. Okay? It's not independent at all.
But at mental level, we are able to see that the thoughts are not ours. Like when we talk to someone or whatever, today someone told me this, then my mind is influenced by that thought. It is not mine really, but it has entered me.
Yeah.
Suppose
that-
we are talking about someone who just said this, whatever.
I'm talking of thoughts which are originated in your mind, not somebody else's mind.
No,
You
but-
are, you think that these are my thoughts. Why should we bring in the thought of others coming into me? No, that's not my thought. Certainly not.
Yeah, but most of the time our own thoughts are not there. No, we are all the time influenced by whatever we are learning, whatever we are, what is ours
Seeing.
actually.
Listen, Tarika,
Huh.
now at 11:30, you have to go back home and you have to have your lunch.
Yeah.
Whose thought is that?
Yeah,
Your thought.
yeah.
You have to, now I have to go to kindergarten. Whose thought is that? It's your thought.
Yeah, but these are just very different thoughts, no? That are practical. This okay, now I have to do this, now I have to do this, now I have to. These are practical thoughts. But at another level, there are thoughts which are mostly created by others who are entering us, no?
But you accept them.
Then once we accept, they become ours.
What you are saying is okay, but that's not the issue here. In fact, if you we accept, or sometimes we don't accept. Why do you say we accept always? We don't accept sometimes. Isn't it?
Yeah.
We can't make.
If we accept, they become ours.
They enter into your mind and you think that you are thinking others' thoughts. Okay. They enter your mind and you say that now I have become aware of that other man's thought. But that is the thought then. The identification ceases. I don't think it's that difficult to understand. You realize that you are not the thinker. The thoughts are being put into you. Also, if you are very, very, very conscious, sometimes you will see that movements of emotional movements sometimes are contagious. If someone else is angry, you can also become angry. It travels from outside and enters you. Okay, so this is what has to stop, and that happens when you can separate yourself from your body-mind life. The identification with body-mind life ceases, and then you enter the spiritual plane of consciousness, which is the self, which is the Brahmic consciousness. So when that happens, the ego movement is still there in the body-mind life. But you are not the body-mind life anymore. You are pure soul, you are pure consciousness. You are situated up there. You can see your body outside yourself. See, this is,
Rangada,
yeah,
when we are watching our thoughts, so who is we?
your mental Purusha. The mental Purusha is watching the thought. But you are not able to really watch the thought separately. You are still thinking it is part of me. It's a whole process. It takes a long time to separate. See, I'll make it even more specific. Okay. Today, if you think, okay, that I was in Singapore for a month. Okay. That's a thought which you have now in your mind. All right.
Yes.
Now, could you have had that thought, okay, when it is occurring? Then there is a watcher and the watched.
Yes, but that mental Purusha is mind, it's a higher mind or what?
No, it's not higher mind. It's a mind which has got a personality. There's a mental Purusha, there's a vital Purusha, there's even a physical Purusha. Okay? Purusha is the consciousness, the conscious being. So that same conscious being at the mental level is mental Purusha. And the same consciousness coming down becomes the vital Purusha with a lesser consciousness. And it comes down into the body, it becomes the body consciousness with a lesser consciousness even more. There is a consciousness in the body. Consciousness is something fundamental you have to realize. Okay? It's not that it is produced by you. It is a fundamental thing. It goes on taking different stances.
No, the Rangada, when you see that your one anger is coming into you, that is the mental Purusha which sees, or it's the vital Purusha which sees?
No, it's a mental Purusha which becomes at that time, it may differ from person to person, but you are aware that something is very difficult to be aware of something is coming into you. That's at a very high level. It happens only when you are in a spiritual consciousness. Normally, we don't understand that at all. We feel that I am getting angry. We are not conscious that it has come from outside. It's not easy to see that.
No, in everyday life also we say it's okay. I mean, why should I get angry? I mean, it's not none of my business, in that way.
Anyway, you have to think about it, okay? And you will see that there are thoughts that occur, and these thoughts are there even in the universe, okay? In the mental plane, all these thoughts are there. What is a thought? It's a formation of the mental substance, okay? That also you have to get there. To understand these things, you have to understand many other side things. You have to understand that a thought is a formation of a mental substance. Just as your body is substance of matter, your vital is also substance of prana. Your mind also is a very limited form of mental substance. Even the soul is a substance. Okay. So if you understand that substance can be quite different from your substance. Okay.
Okay.
You have to think quite deeply about it. I don't think it's that difficult to understand that thoughts are occurring in me and I am watching them. Just as you are watching somebody else, okay? Just as you're watching somebody else, and that else is not me, the same thing happens with the thoughts. Same thing happens with even the body. Even with the body, it happens. You realize that the body is different. It's an instrument it's a house in which I was living. Okay. I've told you 2-3 examples of Niruddha's experience. Okay. He felt, I'll give you 2 examples. Okay. Niruddha's experience. He was walking alone and suddenly he felt that somebody is walking with him. And he wrote to Sri Aurobindo, what is this? Nobody was there and still I felt somebody is there. So Sri Aurobindo said, your consciousness has separated from the body. So the body started becoming the somebody else. You follow? So that
is.
Yeah, so that is what happens. Then your thoughts also.
So that is the subtle body.
It's not the
conscious body.
Consciousness.
It's the body consciousness. Okay.
Not the body consciousness. It's your consciousness at the full consciousness. Depends at which who is experiencing that. Mostly it's the mind, the mental consciousness, which goes into the outside the body mind life. And when it goes outside, it feels somebody is there with me.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So
what about the impersonal witness? If one becomes an impersonal witness, then also you can see what is happening, but you don't get involved in it.
Exactly. That's exactly. And that happens at the level 2, when your consciousness has separated itself from the body, mind, life and escape. That's why I go on saying the prison house. The body, mind, life is a prison for the soul. The soul is a consciousness. And when it escapes from the body, mind, life, you are the impersonal witness. You are in the Brahmic consciousness. And you are watching your own body, you are watching your own mind, you are watching your own vital as though it is somebody else's. You are not part of that at all. You are completely different. That is what is meant by liberation. Okay. These ideas.
Rangada,
Yeah, tell me.
Rangada, can you say when our soul identifies itself with the body, mind, body, life, mind, our soul think itself as ego. Can you say this way?
No, the soul identifies with the body, mind, life and the ego. It identifies, the ego is a construction of nature, just as the body is a material construction of nature, the ego is an artificial construction of nature. It disappears, it is subtle. That's it.
So
yeah.
the one who is watching, the one who identifies itself with whatever level of consciousness, that one is the soul. Is that so?
That's right. The soul, now there's a theory that soul and consciousness are different. And there's also a theory that says, no, they are not really different. They are quite the same. So you can, for our discussion now, you can think of it as the soul and consciousness are the same. Okay. If you want to be very, 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 very particular, you can say that the soul has a consciousness. But it is why they say that, because the soul can also be power. The soul can also be ananda. Okay, that's why they say that. And it's possible to experience the soul as only substance. It is possible to experience the soul only as consciousness. It is possible to experience it from the point of view of power. And it is also possible to experience the soul as ananda. And all these different experiences lead to different philosophies. So that's why they say that the soul and consciousness can be different. But for our discussion here, you can think it as a consciousness and soul are the same. The soul has, what is a soul? It's a divine representative. It's a human representative of the divine. And what is the divine? Satchitananda. Huh? But when it comes down here, Sat, Chit, Shakti and Ananda become all separate. So it is possible to experience Sat separately, Chit separately, consciousness separately, Ananda separately, power separately. Okay? And if in the spiritual planes of consciousness, it is possible to have these experiences. And when you have the experience of Sat, okay, pure substance, then you are in the Mayavada theory. The world becomes unreal. Then, if you realize that your soul is identified with Chit, then you have the Sankhya philosophy, Purusha and Prakriti. Then when you have the identity with the power aspect, the soul becomes the power aspect, you have the Tantric philosophy. And when you have the Ananda philosophy, then you have the Vaishnava theory. The Vaishnava theory is the world is a play of the divine. It's a play of Ananda in the divine. So it depends. Okay. So we can't say, but for our discussion here, let's take it as the soul is consciousness. It can also be power and all, but that's, you can experience all that only in the level 2, in the spiritual planes of consciousness. Okay, not earlier. Right now is 90% of us now, a developed person in the physical world is mental. Okay, that's it. 90% of animals are at the vital level. 90% of human beings supposed to be at the mental but not pure mind. Huh? You are in the vital mind mostly, but the mind is there. So you have to think out all these things carefully. But the basic idea is not difficult to understand. that there are thoughts occurring in you, and you are not the thinker. The thoughts are being put. You are the watcher, and the thoughts are being put into your mind. Who is putting your thoughts? Universal nature. Just as universal matter has put itself into your body and made a small formation, the same thing applies also with the vitality, the prana. Universal prana is sending small emotions into you. Okay? And the universal thoughts, the thought planes, are sending their thoughts into your mind. And your mind is a small engine receiving these thoughts, processing them, and sending them out again. And you are also part of that plane, your mind. So your mind also can manufacture thoughts. Okay? There is the thing. So, okay, we have had a huge discussion on this. the basic thing is not difficult to understand, that there are thoughts that occur and you are watching your thoughts. You can't watch your thoughts now. You are identified with your thoughts. You think that I am the thinker. Whereas when you go to level 2 of the Brahmic consciousness, or as Yasmin said just now, the impersonal witness, the impersonal. What is meant by witness? I am only seeing, I am not identified with them. I can see my thoughts occurring in my mind down below there. I am up here on the summit. Okay? So that's what he's saying. So Srimli is saying that even when you have gone to level 2, the ego continues in the body-mind life. You still continue to act with the old consciousness. Because there's a body consciousness, there's a vital consciousness, also a mental consciousness. But your soul consciousness has gone out. Okay? So now, let's get back to our text. Okay, let's do this one para. But the whole, I'm beginning again from the beginning. Huh? But the hold of the ego consciousness upon our whole habit of existence is difficult to shake off when we have no longer need of the separative, individualistic, aggressive stage in development. When does this happen? When you get liberation. Where you have no longer need of the separative ego and all that, only because when you have gone to level 2, now you don't need your ego. Okay, you don't need. But it continues in the body-mind life. When we would proceed forward from this necessity of littleness in the child soul. So, when you are identified with your body-mind life, you are a child soul. When you are identified with the witness self, when you are in level 2, then you are an adult soul. Sorry, adolescent soul. These are those words, not mine. Then, when you identify yourself with the Supreme, with the divine at level 3, you are the adult soul, or you are not a child or adult, adolescent or adult, you are the divine yourself. Mature soul. Okay, so there can be grades also there, huh? Remember, there can be grades. So, he's saying that the ego continues. Okay? So, I'm reading the last part of the sentence. When we would proceed forward from this necessity of littleness in the child soul to unity and universality. So, unity and universality are possible at level 2, okay, not at level 1. To the cosmic consciousness and beyond. So, level and beyond is level 3, okay, to our transcendent spirit stature. It is indispensable to recognize clearly, not only in our mode of thought, but in our way of feeling, sensing, doing. So, mode of thought, mind. Mode of feeling, sensing, vital. Doing, physical. That this movement, this universal action, is not a helpless, impersonal wave of being which lends itself to the will of any ego according to that ego's strength and insistence. What Sridhar is saying here very clearly, I come back to the idea of the sea and the wave. The wave is thinking that the water in the sea, I can utilize as I want. Okay? I can utilize as I want. If there is something, I can fulfill my desires, everything is there in the universe. Okay? There are fruits, there are this, there is that, and I can utilize them. That's the wave is thinking. That's our condition. But when the ego disappears, the wave realizes that it is a sea that was doing all these things. It becomes the sea itself. You become the cosmic consciousness. The wave disappears and you become the sea. So this is what Sarve is saying. Okay. So, but that is not very easy to attain, because now Srimna is saying you must be the wave, but you must have the consciousness of the sea in you. That's what he's saying. You must continue to exist in your body, mind, life, and not remain outside, like in level 2. Not liberation, but liberation of, he uses 2 words. Liberation of soul is when your soul consciousness rises to level 2 and feels itself to be not the body, mind, life. But Srimna wants you to have the liberation of the nature. In other words, the ego in the body, mind, life also must disappear. You should be able to enter into your body, mind, life and still have the consciousness of the cosmos in you. You must be a wave. You must not lose your wave form. You must be a wave, but you must have the consciousness of the sea in you. You must not feel that you are separate. You must feel that you are one with the sea. That's what. So similar terms is the liberation of the soul, the liberation of Prakriti, liberation of nature, liberation of body, mind, life. That is the intention in the integral yoga, not in the other yogas. The other yogas are very satisfied with level 2. So let the body, mind, life go, it will disappear. But my consciousness is now free. I can do what I want with my consciousness. I can disappear into the infinite. I can remain in the any world I want. Okay, Jana Loka, Tapo Loka, Brahma Loka, okay, Ananda Loka. I can remain wherever I want. All these planes are in the level 2. But Srimdo says, why not go to level 3 and take birth again and come down into body, mind, life without ego, without being captured by the senses and becoming free. Remain in the world without being subject to the world conditions. Be master of yourself. The image of that is again the lotus leaf in the water. You are in the water, but you are never getting wet. There is no ego, it just comes out. They also use the image of the duck back. The duck back also, the duck is swimming in the water, but its feathers remain dry. It doesn't get wet. That is what Srimad is. So let's get back to our text. Okay, so now he's saying this universal action is not something that every ego can use for itself. No, it is a universal action that is creating the wave. You are the individual human being is not utilizing the universe as he wants, not at all. It's a universal universe which is molding you. Okay, it very much molds you. Okay, and determines what you are. That's what he said. Now I come to the next sentence. In the movement of a cosmic being, who is the knower of his field, the steps of a divinity, who is the master of his own progressive force of action. Okay? It is a movement. What is the universe he telling? It's a movement of a cosmic being, who is the knower of his field, the steps of a divinity, who is the master of his own progressive force of action. The sea is not for your benefit. The sea is something which is created by the divine at the highest level, and it is a force. The divine is doing what he wants with the ocean. And the ocean is creating small waves, which are the human beings. The divine creates the cosmos, and the cosmos creates the individual. And the individual is the body, mind, life. Okay? Master of his own progressive force of action. As the movement is one and indivisible, at the level 2, the movement is one and indivisible. The universe is one and indivisible. Even science has recognized that now. Okay, science also knows that the whole universe is one. Okay, organic whole. It's not separate things collected together. It's one organic whole. As the movement is one and indivisible, so who is present in the movement is one soul and indivisible. So the divine is there in the universe also. So you as an individual who feel yourself to be separate should realize that you are not separate and you have to become one with the universe and one with the divine on top. Not only all result is determined by him means the Lord, but all initiation, action, and process are dependent on the motion of his cosmic force and only belong secondarily and in their form to the creature. Now, this last sentence, I'll give you an example, then you'll understand. So someone comes and tells me that you are not free at all. You are a slave of nature. I say, what nonsense you're talking? How can I be slave of nature? Look, if I agree with what you're saying, if when I'm thirsty, I'm forced to drink water. Yes, I'm a slave to my thirst. And the thirst is being put into me by nature. So I agree. But now I'm not thirsty. And yet I decide to go and drink a glass of water. So I don't need to. I'm doing it by my own accord. Okay? You can argue this with the person who is telling me that you are a slave. I am not a slave. I am deciding myself that I want to drink water. I don't need to drink water. I am not a slave to thirst. Thirst is not there, yet I am drinking. So that's my argument against you. So what will he answer? The one who is telling you that you are a slave? Even this thought has been put into you by the universe. You follow? So everything is determined. Now read that sentence again and then you will see what is there. Not only all result is determined by him, but all initiation, okay, action and process, initiation, okay. In my case, just now the example I gave you, I am initiating my action and going and drinking water, although I don't need to. But even that initiation is determined by the universe. That's what he's saying, okay. All initiation, action and process are dependent on the motion of the cosmic force and only belong secondarily and in their form to the creature. So, yes, you have a small responsibility. It's not that you are a complete slave to the universe, but the universe is holding you completely under its influence so far as the body-mind life is concerned. But a body-mind life is not the only thing you have. You have a soul. And the soul can be free. The soul can be free and becomes free when it follows the process of separating itself from the body-mind life. That's what he's saying. In other words, there are so many stages. Okay. So we have come to. I hope some clarity has come. Okay. Because he is going to tell you now that there are various stages of this separation of body-mind life. There which was level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. We have already discussed that in the beginning. First is the ego. Second is the ego can become a real nuisance in society. So society steps in and says, no, I will lay down certain rules which you have to follow. So those are the social rules. Social conduct is determined by the collectivity. Then the third level, morality. What is right and wrong. The social conduct has nothing to do with right and wrong. It is just something mechanical. As I told you, you have to obey traffic rules. Okay? The society is insisting on that. Everybody has to pay their taxes. Another instance. There's nothing moral or immoral about it. It's a rule. It's society which is insisting on that. But the third level, morality, is the individual who decides what is good and what is bad. And finally, the spiritual level, where all rules and all standards are all thrown out, and you have total liberty. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam praja. That's the fourth and final highest level of contact. That's what it means. 8:40, so we have to stop here. Next, I don't know, we have spent a good deal of time, but I imagine that it's not very difficult to understand this, that there are thoughts and You can watch your thoughts, but you are identified most of the time with your thoughts. You feel that you are thinking. You are not thinking. The thoughts are put into you, and you are identifying yourself with it and thinking that I am doing. I give you another instance to make you understand this. Okay, it's like the nature is making the tree grow. The tree is growing, but the tree doesn't think that I am growing because it doesn't have an ego. But nature is also putting thoughts into your mind. Nature is putting emotions into your body, into your vitals, and also putting food into your body. And you think that I am eating, I am emoting, I am having thoughts. That's because you have an ego. But the tree doesn't have an ego. Okay? But it's a very, very low level. Okay? At the same time, you can use the tree doesn't have an ego, human beings have an ego, and the yogi also does not have an ego when he goes up. But the body mind life will continue to have the ego. Ego is a transitional being. It's in between. You can get rid of it with some difficulty, not easy. Okay, so we stop here today. Suki, we'll have
Merci beaucoup.
okay.
Yes, I will make a note.
Well, we had a long discussion, but
Thank you, Rangada.
Thank you, Rangada.
don't
That
be-
helps. That helps our understanding, definitely.
Yeah, yes. But what then must be the situation? This you are. Okay.
Yes,
Then-
I will make a note there.
Okay. Au revoir, everybody.
Thank you, Rangada.
Okay.